Welcome to Business Class, a podcast for people wanting to upgrade their thinking, upgrade their learning, and upgrade their life. I'm your host, Eugenia Panterhos, founder of Business Class Collective, best-selling author and life coach. If you're an entrepreneur, a startup, or someone who dreams of reaching their full potential, then you're in the right place. You'll feel empowered and inspired to design the life you've always wanted. Let's do this. Hello, gorgeous people, and welcome back to Business Class Collective podcast. This week, we're discussing trusting the timing of your life. I'm sure we've all experienced the times that things might just happen quite automatically or quite serendipitously, and we don't really understand how and when or why these things happen. So let's examine what might be at the core of trusting the timing of your life. So mostly our lives unfold as we might expect them to. We enjoy routine that is familiar. We get up, have our shower, have breakfast, meet our friends, do exercise, and start our working day. Sometimes we can experience rejections that literally stop us in our tracks and that leave us doubting our self-belief and self-worth. It takes courage to choose what might seem as a disaster as simply a redirection. It takes faith to appreciate that perhaps the unexpected thing that you're experiencing is the universe or higher power actually having your back. Recently, on Instagram, I reposted an inspiring quote that began with the words, "You are the prime cause in your life, and whatever you experience is by your own agreement." Whether that is good or bad, your experiences are in your hands as you are a completely self-empowered being. You get to choose how to respond, how to act, how to be, and how to present yourself. I was inspired by this quote because we are not just spectators of our lives, but active participants, and we get to choose. We get to choose how to process, respond, or react to any given challenge or joy. We get to choose if we partake in gossip, put-downs, inclusion, or love. We get to choose, but I truly believe there is a greater power that deals the hands. My friend Michael, an enthusiastic octogenarian, reminds our breakfast club, as he points upwards, that it is written, that the fates have a hand in our life, but equally it is up to us to show up. The universe, or higher power, has a way of influencing our lives, but it's up to us to have the dream, the inspiration, the can-do attitude, and the resolve to become the best person we can be during good times and challenging times and all the times in between. When I was seeking publishers for my book Greek Life, I experienced many rejections from publishing companies that told me there are too many cookbooks on the market, it wasn't the right time, they weren't sure if they could deliver the book to the right market. It went on and on. But I had a great self-belief and I knew there was a market for my book, even though the traditional publishing houses couldn't see it. It took months before I was ready to back myself and say, I can do this. I can back myself, I can do this on my terms, and I can do this full stop. It's a redirection that gave me control over securing the most amazing stockists nationally that included bookstores, gift stores, shops that specialise in weddings, homeware stores, garden nurseries, and so many more, as well as selling my book on my online store and through social media channels. I got to travel to many states and cities in Australia where I was invited to speak and share the story of Greek life. My book was not only embraced nationally but also globally, and people travelled with my book and took photos of Greek life at various destinations. I was absolutely thrilled that Greek life had its own travel itinerary in the lives of its owners. Who could have imagined that that was even possible? I was invited and welcomed to events in Greece, New York City, Montreal, Frankfurt, and many cities in Australia. I enjoyed interviews in publications in Australia and various countries overseas, including Monaco, Athens, Canada, and the US. It's a life that I could only have dreamed of, and I created it when I chose to refuse to listen to those who could not see my vision. And instead, I chose to back myself, take inspired action, and trust the timing of my life. It all worked out as it was meant to be, and I no longer needed to gain approval from a publisher to make my dream come true. Life has a funny way of whispering messages to us. There are times, however, that we ignore those whispers and the gut feelings that are trying to get hold of our attention. There's a reason for everything. It's just that we don't necessarily know that at the time. So we really need to learn to trust these messages, as they're usually spot on, but it takes courage. It takes courage to believe. It takes courage to have faith. It takes courage to trust the timing of your life. It takes courage to make inspired action, and that rejection can indeed mean a redirection. I remember when I was in high school, all I dreamed about was to study interior design and to work on amazing interiors and to have my designs showcased in magazines. Creativity is at my core. I remember that when I was a young girl, my mum would come home from shopping only to find that I had rearranged her decor. She seemed to have been fine with it and allowed my inner dream to shine through. Another example of this is at age 11, when I was visiting my aunt's house in Greece, I moved all of her potted plants and placed them on each step of her sweeping staircase so that the flowers and assorted green leaves could be showcased. I couldn't help myself. I was literally in my element and it just felt so natural. Importantly, I was even more thrilled when I wasn't reprimanded for my cheeky audaciousness. Back to my interior design story though, I decided to defer for a year as I was the youngest in my class, and that would see me entering university at age 16, something I didn't want to do at such a young age. So I applied for jobs as clerks and office assistants and had the opportunity to choose between a couple of offers, and I made my choice with a condition, and that was to finish my leaving certificate, which I did complete successfully, as this is what I needed to enter my course for interior design. But as we know, things happen, and in the year that I deferred, the prerequisite to enrol had changed, and unfortunately, I hadn't deferred properly, and this meant I lost my place. I was so frustrated, and when I eventually got over my disappointment, I realised that I could enrol as an adult student after I turned 21. In the meantime, I gathered a lot of experience in the workforce, enjoyed multiple promotions, and my interest in business was truly ignited. I still loved interior design and all the things house and garden, architecture, trimmings, colours, textures, fashion and style. I began to understand the interplay between trends in fashion and also homes and gardens. You name it, I was learning informally and decorating my home using bold colour statements and elements of luxe and grandeur. I was designing my own clothes and had them made by my dressmaker. These unique and classic garments were for special occasions, and I loved to source the materials, use original design elements, and that wonderful feeling when I finally got to wear my completed outfit. My 20s were also a time to delve into business books, strategy, marketing, and so much more. My personal business library was growing, and I was writing monthly newsletters for my husband's clients. I had made a mental note that I could possibly study at a later date and graduate when I was 50. This mental note would become a defining moment in my life, and once again, I needed to trust the timing of my life. In my early 30s, I studied garden design. You see, I keep going back to it. There's a theme building. So I had an inquiring mind. I was passionate about life. I was passionate about design. And I felt that I had so much to learn and so much to give. I was unafraid, and I possessed such a strong belief that anything was possible for me if I wanted it to be. By now, I had my 3 children, and after being a stay-at-home mum, but always delving in self-education, I re-entered the workforce as an assistant to a researcher. And after a few years, as my contribution to the business grew and grew, my employer asked me if I would like to take a course that will add value to the business. I'd already noticed a professional management program, a 1-year course for executive professionals that had piqued my interest. So this was what I call opportunity meeting awareness, and I couldn't be happier or more nervous if I had tried. It had been such a long time since I was in a learning environment, yet alone at a university. I was determined to succeed and I gave it my all. My employer was investing in my professional development and I didn't want to let him down, nor myself. It was challenging, exhilarating, and at times I even surprised myself. Besides the business models that I studied, other important lessons were around self-awareness and how our personality affects the way in which we work, how we think, how we process, and how we influence others and outcomes. Importantly, it's about leading yourself so that you can lead others. At the graduation ceremony, the Dean of the Business School had explained that the program we had just finished was the equivalent of 2 subjects of an MBA. My extensive work and professional experience exempted me from sitting for an entry test to enrol in the university. This was an enormous relief and a privilege to be recognised for my work and my professional dedication. Out of a cohort of around 50 people in the professional management program, another lady and myself enrolled in 2 more subjects, namely accounting and marketing. I had the support of my employer, who also paid for one of these subjects. By the end of the semester, I had earned a graduate diploma of business, and the piece de resistance was that I graduated from the same university, the same faculty, on the same date in 2012 as my eldest daughter. It's a moment in my life that I'll never forget. This was such a special mum and daughter moment, receiving parchments and graduating together. 2 more years of study saw me graduate at the age of 50 with a Master's of Business. And there it was, the long road to a passion that I had for learning, the dream I had to earn a university qualification, and the age for which I had set my intention to complete my studies. Wow, this is certainly trusting the timing of your life. What I understood was that there is creativity in business, in developing strategies, building teams, creating and contributing to morale, engaging in marketing and branding, having input in website design, and so much more. I was in my element and able to use my creativity, which felt like a 360 from missing out on my interior design, by the way, where jobs were so very rare at the time. And in my personal life, by this stage, I had designed an extension in my home, I had designed a beach house, so I truly felt I was living my dream. This is the beauty of life unfolding, just as it should be, but it's also about intention, inspired action and commitment. I marvelled at just how far I had come. I got to share this auspicious occasion with my family, and instead of dining at a fancy restaurant, I chose to order in the most amazing food from a favourite restaurant. I popped the French champagne and uncorked some of the finest wines in our cellar. It was just the way that I wanted to celebrate, with my loved ones, in my home, seated around the long dining table. It was beautiful and simply an unforgettable day. I guess what this experience has taught me is that I needed to accept what happened when I didn't get into university as a young adult, but instead to trust the timing of my life. Everything was happening in my life would lead me to where I wanted to be. I suppose it's a reminder that things are happening for us, and in that exists the divine timing of our life. It's not always linear. Some of us take the scenic route, and that was definitely me. Those tough times, those challenging times, and those confusing times may not make sense at the time, but I truly believe that the universe is placing people, things, challenges, and blessings into our lives, and it's up to us to co-create and show up and to learn the lessons. I know this for certain, as I did have the people and opportunities enter my life that allowed me to believe in myself and to be proud of my experience. Combined, these opened doors that allowed me to pursue a dream dreamt long ago. Life's experiences will test us, and what we need is the faith to grow through the experience so that the better version of ourselves is manifested. Challenges, although difficult, can often lead to a rebirth and a new way of becoming your best and authentic self. So, as you go about your life, you may experience a challenge or a disappointment. Try to see why this obstacle might be happening or why you're experiencing the discomfort. Ask what the lesson might be. Question if it's really a rejection or a redirection. Engage your senses to see how it sits within your gut or in the sensations of your body. Listen to the whispers of your soul. Trust in the timing of your life, as there is a season for everything, and you'll only see how all the dots connect when you look back. But importantly, always take inspired action. Until next time. You've been listening to Business Class presented by Eugenia Panterhos, founder of Business Class Collective. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate and review this podcast. Share the love and let your family and friends know too. You can follow Business Class Collective on Instagram and Facebook. Join me next time.